Hello and welcome to Lobajit Gaming and welcome to another first Descendant video. So this is the big one. This is how to build a Descendant step by step and all the systems that have been added in the game since launch. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start off from the very beginning. So when the game first launched, we had the mod page, we had the external components, the reactor, and then as we progressed through the various seasons, we got new additions, new systems. So we got the inversion reinforcement, Arche tuning, Mutant cell, ancestors modules, trigger modules, all those things came in later. So I'll do it step by step, and I'll also show you how the build changes and how you adjust the build with the new systems. Now, the reason for making it like this is because a lot of new players, a lot of returning players, they look up guides and they'll see guides from people like me which are designed for endgame. And they may have stopped playing 6 months ago, or they just cleared the normal difficulty if they're a new player, and they can't figure out what they need to do next. What is this Arche tuning? How do I do that? Where do I go? Things like that. So this will introduce everything step by step in a chronological order. Now, I'll try and keep this as short as possible, but there is a lot to cover understanding the systems. I have made separate videos going over the basics of modules, the basics of calculations in terms of the skill power and the modifiers and things like that. So you can have a look. I'll link them below. They're just before this video. And so hopefully this is easier to understand this way. So let's start first with the blank mod page. I'm using Freyna here, and I have put crystallization catalyst on all of these slots. So I had covered this in the module section and how to do that. So you can do that if you're not sure about something, but you can put multiple different sockets on each of the module slots. These two, again, I have already covered. This is a sub module. We put the grapple one here. So we do that. And then this is the skill module for the Transcendent modules. Now only these ones will go here. You don't have to put one, but basically they change your abilities a little bit. So you can see these are your 4 abilities. This is your passive. And depending on which one you prefer using, it'll change things around slightly. So sometimes, for example, if you go with toxic stimulation, if you save this, it changes the second ability to give plague body armor to your teammates. If you go with the venom synthesis, this changes the third ability, and when she runs, she'll leave toxic footprints behind, and when the enemies step on them, they'll get damaged. And she also runs faster. So all these things change your build slightly, so you can use whichever you prefer, or just leave it blank if you prefer it that way. So let's just put the toxic stimulation here for the example. Okay, now when it comes to the build, what we are trying to do is we are trying to first figure out if your Descendant is a crit-based Descendant or a non-crit based Descendant, because you have 2 different sets of mods that you can use. They cannot be used together. So very first thing, you go to the inventory screen, press W, and you see your base crit rate. Now base crit rate here is 5% for Freyna, and if you saw my multiplicative and the additive video, this is multiplicative. So any extra crit rate that you add with the mods will get multiplied with this base number. So if you add another 100% crit rate, that will be another 5% here basically. So it only increases by 10. So in this game, you have Descendants at 5%. So Freyna is at 5%. You have Keelan at 5%, Harris at 5%, Kyle, Esimo, Jaber, a lot of people at only 5%. And then you have people at 15 to 20%. So the 15 and 20% people, they are considered on the higher side. We build them with crit. And people on the lower end with 5%, we build them without crit, so non-crit modules. And there are also a couple of people, I think, at 10%. Bunny's at 10%, and I think Enzo is at 10%. Those are a bit more flexible. You can build into either crit or non-crit. Okay, so we are going to build Freyna into non-crit. Okay, so now when you start building, you have 10 mod slots here, and you have to fill up the capacity and try to get a few things with this mod page. You want to get a lot of power in your with your damage basically, and then you add some range to your skills. You want cooldown so that you can use your skills frequently, and then you want to add some quality of life things like HP, for example, defense. Maybe you want to add some special mods, maybe something to recover MP so that you can use your skills more regularly. So let's look at our first skill as an example. On the right hand side, you see the basic info, all the damage related numbers, and on the left hand side, first you see it says Venom Trauma, that's the name of the skill, and above that you see Toxic and Tech. So each descendant has an element type. So Freyna is toxic. Okay, so that is the first thing. And you have 5 elements in the game. You have toxic, you have electric, you have chill, you have fire, you have non-attribute. So all descendants will have something, only one though. The second thing is your tech over here, which is the Arche type. Now, Arche type, you can have up to 2 per descendant. Most cases, you'll have 1. But what happens is the one of them will be the one that deals damage. So with this first skill, Freyna has toxic and tech. With her second skill, we have toxic and dimension. So different tech here, different archetype. And then once again, you have toxic and tech, toxic and tech. So out of the 4, 3 of them are toxic and tech. This one is toxic and dimension. This is also a defensive ability. So we want to use toxic and tech for our damage. We want to increase the power of these 2 things so that we can do a lot of damage. This is also useful to understand what reactor to pick. So you pick a reactor with toxic and tech, makes life easy. So you have to just figure out which is the damage dealing skills that you're going to use, and then use a reactor and use the mods to improve those things. Okay, so first let's improve our toxic. So toxic skill power, and we have these 3 mods here. Toxic specialist, focus on toxic, toxic master. They will each give you different numbers. So toxic specialist gives you 81.2 toxic power. This one gives you 77.2, but also gives you cooldown. This one gives you skill power, the base skill power. So you have 3 types of skill power in the game. You have the base skill power, you have the element skill power, and the archetype skill power. So if you build into all 3 of them, you'll do more damage. Okay, so notice these also have the battle written on it. So this is a group. This is the grouping for these mods. You can only use 1 mod of each group. So these 3 are all battles. You can only use 1 of these 3. Okay, so let's use focus on toxic, because this will also give us a little bit of cooldown. So if you use focus on toxic, notice the first skill. Look at the basic info on the right. It says cooldown 11 seconds down to 10.3. This is thanks to the 6.1 cooldown reduction. So we want to reduce the cooldown of our skills so that they are available to us to use more frequently. Okay, so we've added 1 mod to increase our toxic skill power, and we want to add more if we can. So we cannot add any more battle ones. These are basically just repeats. This is an ancestors module. We'll come back to that later. So our only choices are fortitude and strike. So this one here, toxin integration, this gives you 28% skill power, toxic skill power, and skill critical hit rate plus 10%. As we discussed earlier, we are building Freyna without crit, so we don't need this. Then we have toxic amplification. This gives us 65.4% skill power, so a lot more toxic skill power at the expense of critical hit damage. Again, since we decided not to use critical hit damage, this doesn't bother us, so we will take this one. So these are the 2 toxic mods we have done, and we are done with the toxic side of things. Now the other side of thing is the tech. So unfortunately, tech doesn't have mods here. So tech skill power mods don't exist. We only have tech skill modifier. So the modifier, the easiest way to understand is, by the way, I have covered that in the other video, but here I'll just give you a simple explanation. So if you look at the toxic puddle where it says continuous damage, skill power times 192.4, that 192.4 is where we add the modifiers. So we will add some modifier there to increase that 192.4. General tip, if the number is very small, like 192 or 200 or something like that, adding modifier to that will help. So for example, 192, if you add 60 to that, it'll become a nice around 250. That is pretty good. But if your damage is very high, for example, over here, let's say you have 1764. If you add another 40, 50 there, it's not going to increase it by that much. So it will be more beneficial when you have lower skill power modifier number. Anyway, let's look at the options we have. So tech, skill power. So once again, we have the attack grouping, we have the battle grouping, we have the luck. So we already have battle in here, so we cannot use that. We have attack, we can use attack. So we have tech specialist and focus on tech. These are the same. I've just only enhanced it by a half. So focus on tech gives you tech skill power modifier 68.2% and skill cooldown of 6.1. So we will add this one. Now, unfortunately, the 68.2 that we've added doesn't show up here in the tooltip. That is just how the game works, but it is added there. And so we got the attack. Now our only option remaining is luck, because we've added the attack, we've added the battle. So luck is the only one. So once again, we go with the amplification, which reduces our crit rate. Again, we were not working with crit rate, so we will add this one. And we got our toxic and our tech modifiers done. Now we do have other ways of adding tech. Tech is added via the reactor most of the time. So we'll look into that once we look at the reactors. But we've added the modifiers here. Because we are not working with crit, we have to add the modifiers just to make life easier for us. Now, we've added the power. Now we want to add cooldown so that we can use our skills. So at the moment, our cooldown is down to 9.7 from the focus on toxic and the focus on tech. The 6.1 from each of them have been added. Now we want to add some more cooldown. So with the cooldown, notice we have this mod here, Nimble Fingers. It reduces our cooldown by 25.6, and also it doesn't have anything written on it. So this is basically a free mod. It doesn't have a grouping, so we can just take advantage of that and put it here. Now, if you look at this one, MP conversion, this has 36.5% cooldown. It does reduce our MP by a little bit, 15%, but this one has the group control, so we can only use one of these. So this one is the one that gives the highest. Everybody uses these two mods in their build. So MP conversion, Nimble Fingers, we've added a lot of cooldown here. And notice our cooldown is down to 2.8 seconds now. Okay. Now we've added the power, we've added the cooldown, we want to add some range. So we add range. Now, before we do that, have a look at the range here. So once again, look at the toxic puddle. If you see in the range section, it says radius 4 meters. So if we look in the lab over here, let's drop our toxic puddle, let's say over here. And so this is our 4 meter range. Okay. Now, if we add the range mod, so we add range. Once again, we have a free mod, expansion. This is again the most commonly used one. We put the range. This increases our range by 92.3%. And now if you have a look, our range is 7.7 meters. Okay. So if we look at this through the thing, you can see our puddle is bigger. Now, another thing regarding the range is underneath that range, you see max expandable range says 300%. So meaning you can expand it by a maximum of 3 times. So 4 times 3, 12. 12 is the maximum you can get for the range here. So because this was a free one, we can try and add another range mod. So add range. And once again, we have these two mods here, maximize range and amplification control. You can see they are from the range group. We can only add one of them. This one will give you 51.7%, and this one will give you 94.4%, but it will also reduce your skill power modifier. So if you remember that 192.4, this will get reduced by 20 if you use this. So you lose a little bit of power in exchange for range. So first, let's try this one here. This one gives us 51.7. So adding this, our range goes up to 9.8 meters. So if you look here, so slightly bigger, I don't know if you can notice the difference. And if we add the other one, the maximize range, now we are at 11.5. And notice also our skill modifiers, they've gone red. We have reduced them by 20 because of this mod. But this has taken us to 11.5. Our maximum we could have taken was to 12 meters. So almost there. Okay. So this is close to the max range we can get. You see definitely a bigger puddle. So bigger puddle, more enemies will be in there and you'll do more damage, etc., etc. Now we move on to the quality of life mods that you can put in here. And so let's add one health mod. So we can put HP. Before we do that, let's see the HP over here. We have only 2314 HP. So if we add the HP over here, we have increased HP. This is a free mod. Again, you can see no grouping here. And the other ones have the group. So we have Battle of Stamina. This will give you HP and a little bit of skill duration. Then we have HP amplification. This will give you a lot of HP, but reduce a little bit of your max shield. And then we have this one here, Stim Accelerant. Again, gives you a lot of HP, but reduces your MP further. We've already used one mod that reduces MP. So you can either use amplification if you don't really care about the shields, or you can just use the blank HP and just get some shield and get some health here. So this was the blank one. Let's put this here and we see now we have 7,370 HP. Now, you can either add a second HP mod if 7,000 feels not enough. So we could, let's say, put this one here, amplification. And now we have 12,627. Now, you may not want a second HP mod because 7,000 is comfortable. You can maybe try something else here. For example, we had lost our MP here by 15%. So you can add another mod that increases that again. So max MP, there is one mod called Enlightenment. This increases by 15.2%. This was reducing by 15.2%. So if you put that here, you'll be back to where you started. There's another mod called MP Collector. This is a popular one. A lot of people use this one. So when you defeat an enemy, you have a chance of getting 12.2% of your max MP back. So when there are lots and lots of enemies, you are constantly killing enemies, you will be constantly refilling your MP because that chance of 70% will increase with so many enemies. So you can use something like this over here. Similarly, so these are like the golden ones. These are the special type of mods, and you can see this is a support tech. You can only use one of the support tech of mods. There's also another popular one that we use with Freyna called Decimator. Now what Decimator does is, once again, it increases your skill power modifier based on the number of enemies killed. So if you have killed 10 enemies, you'll get a 50% increase to your skill power modifier. So remember, we are losing 20 here, you'll add another 50 here. So that will also help you do more damage. So you can add Decimator over here if you're not having issues with your MP. So that is your main mod page done. Okay. Now, this is basically when you have just finished the campaign, you have entered hard mode, none of the new systems have been added. So for a new player who has just finished the base campaign and reached hard mode, this is what you will have before all the other systems are added. So let's look at the final touch to this build, which will be the external components and the reactors. So the external components, they give you things like MP, they give you things like a little bit of HP, and you can choose various things. Each of these have two options. You can see we have MP recovery out of combat, max MP. The two above, the blank one, the orange and the blue that you see, ignore that for now. That is a later addition. And then we have over here max MP and MP recovery in combat. Over here you have MP recovery modifier and some defense. And then over here you have max shield and shield recovery. Now you have 4 or 5 different options on each of these pieces here. And basically you can select the ones you want, and these mods, these external components drop from certain locations. You'll have to run that over and over until you get the 2 roles that you want. And then these 2 roles can be further enhanced at the workbench. So this is also something that you can see my roles here are all gold. There's a range. You can see it says max shield 124 to 283. I'm at 283 because I've enhanced it all the way to 283. You may get something like 140, and the other one could be 0.65 or something like that. So you can change that. Just try to get the matching ones. And the simplest way I can recommend is look at the build video that you're following, whether it's on YouTube or somewhere else, and just follow those. We generally go for all the MP related roles when it comes to the skill-based Descendants. The vast majority of Descendants are skill-based. So we will have HP and MP recovery out of combat. For the auxiliary power on the sensor, we have max MP and MP recovery in combat. For the memory, we go with defense and MP recovery modifier. And then for this one, you can use max shield and shield recovery modifier. Now, these external components, they come in various sets. There are lots of them in the game. And I've added this one here. This is the Venom Essence, which is something that was available at the start. So if you go into external components and if you go and look at all these are all the various external component sets available in the game. And if you want to know where to get one, you have to just go here, click on F for acquisition info, and it will show you Hard Death Stalker is where this one will drop. Okay, or the Agna Desert, 400%. So now I've added one early one because the preferred one for Freyna is something that drops later once we reach Sigma sector. So that's why I have put this here. When it comes to the reactor, remember what I talked about the skills. So with this one, we have toxic and tech. Okay. So once again, you want in the first condition where it says skill power boost ratio, you want a tick on both of them. So toxic skill power and tech skill power, both of them are getting a tick. So this is the matching reactor for Freyna. And the reactors are very easy to understand. The colors of the reactor represent the element and the shape of the reactor represent the architect. So this one here, This is red. All the fire ones will be red. All the chill ones will be in this sort of teal color, I think it's called. All the non-attribute ones will be in this color, the sort of gray color, let's say. The electric ones will be in blue, and there will be the electric symbol in the middle as well. And then the toxic ones will have like a skull and the green color. The shapes, you have this star shape. This is for the tech reactors. This diamond one is for the singular reactors. This triangle one will be for the dimension. And this sort of bigger bulky one will be for the fusion. So at a quick glance, you can tell which reactor is what. So this one is fusion and non-attribute. This one is electric and tech. This one is electric and singular. So you can have a quick look once you've played a little bit and instantly tell what reactor you want. So you want toxic and tech for Freyna. Okay, so that is the first set done. Then we have the skill power. So when you equip it and all the increase to your skill powers. And then in the options, you can basically, easiest thing you can do is go for the same two things again. This is for the non-crit Descendants. For the crit Descendants, you can put crit damage that will give you a lot of damage. So once again, I've picked toxic and tech here. Now, depending on your build, you may want to put cooldown there if you already have a lot of toxic power. Tech skill power boost ratio. Remember what I said earlier. We don't have many ways of adding tech skill power boost ratio. Okay. So this is like the main source of adding the tech power because we only get modifiers inside. So we get tech skill power in the skill section, 0.2, and then we can get 0.8 in this section. Also notice this one is not fully enhanced. We are getting 0.08. Maximum is 0.085. You can increase that. So this is basically your starting reactor. So that is your base build, your mod page done, your external components done, and then your reactor done. So this is where you would find yourself at the start of hard mode. Now, season 1, they added something called inversion reinforcement. So we go over here. This was added with the invasion missions and the 400% infiltrations. So what you have is a page here, and you have to collect something called iron heart particles. So when you are doing a mission, you'll be getting a little bit, and so you'll be leveling that. Once you have 30, you can add them here and unlock them. So this one will cost you 1, this one will cost you 3 and 5. So I've already done this. So this is the page you get. Now you can pick 3 of these and you can select them here, and they'll give you some slight perks. So this one here, what this does is it reduces your skill cost when you defeat an enemy, and you can get up to 5 times this number, 0.8%. Okay. So basically, if we look over here, it says here in the top on the right side, we have basic info, cooldown, and then we have MP cost 30. So that MP cost 30, that will get reduced as you're killing enemies. Okay, so that is this one here, the focus boost. And similarly, you have selective neurostimulation. So every 45 seconds, you get a bit of MP back or something like that, one of the perks. And then the third one I've picked is called deploy hardened shell. And this one basically reduces your incoming damage. So these are the perks that you get from inversion. Over here, these are sort of passive ones that are always active once you are using and doing things. So this one here, quantum domain. This one increases your range of your skill and your skill power by 0.8 and 0.6% respectively, up to 15 times. So if you use your skills 15 times, you can get an increase to your range and your skill. So if we look here in the skill section, we don't have the base skill power here. And if we look at, let's actually use our skills 15 times just to show you. So if you do this, you see that quantum domain pop up, that sort of diamond shape. So if you do that 15 times, you are going to get the maximum increase to your range. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so 15 here. And what this does is it increases your skill power by 0.6% 15 times. So 9% basically. So if you see over here, base skill power, 9% here. It also increases your range. Now, if you increase your range this way and a few other ways, you can actually drop that maximize range module that was eating up your skill power modifier and replace it with the other one that we showed earlier. So we'll come to that later. So this was inversion reinforcement added in season 1. And yeah, some of the others also give you similar perks, like you recover your HP if your HP goes down too much and things like that. Just a minor thing, but it's helpful while you are playing and doing the missions. So this was the first edition. Now we reach Sigma Sector in Season 2. And by the way, with these things, there will be some minor quests. So you have to go into your main quest. Once you finish the base quest, you'll be in hard mode. And then there'll be additions to this one. You'll see more quests. They will be the ones in sort of pink or purple color. So if you complete them step by step, it will unlock the new region and the new system that you have to do. So in Season 2, Episode 2, when Serena came out, they added a quest with Glay, with Glay's daughter, with Serena. Once you finish that quest line and you have done everything, you will unlock the 2 maps on the Sigma sector. And over there, they've added the Arche tuning system with that one. So you have to do those missions again and again to unlock and increase your Arche tuning. So what is Arche tuning? Arche tuning is, you could say, something like the Paragon board in Diablo 4. So what you have is 40 points once you have fully maxed out the Arche tuning. And then you can use these nodes here to get some power and some range and things like that. More conveniences. You can basically round out your build like this. Okay, so you can see this is the Arche tuning XP. So you have to run that Arche tuning multiple times. You get 1500 XP and then you have to collect 40 points. And with each Descendant, if you complete the Arche tuning, you also get it for the normal version or the ultimate version. So for example, if I did the Arche tuning with Freyna, normal Freyna, it will also unlock for ultimate Freyna, but it does not unlock for the other Descendants. You have to do the Arche tuning for each of the Descendants. It's a one-time thing. You don't have to do it every season or anything. The inversion reinforcement you have to do every season, but that's too easy. You can do it without even realizing. With this one, it's only a one-time thing. Okay, so we have 40 points to spend. The way this board is split up currently is this side here, the sort of top right, this is all about skills and some cooldowns and things like that, crit damage. This side here is all about HP and some resistances. This side here is again some shields and some resistances and movement speed. And then this top left side is all about gun power. Okay, so adding more attack to your gun, to your sword and things like that. So Freyna as a skill-based Descendant, we mostly use her skills, so we will be building into this side here. So we start with this one, we add enhanced skill power. So this skill power will go into this section and it will increase this here. So you can see we've added 41 here. And so we start this, each node has to be connected to the previous one basically. So you cannot randomly pick one here, pick one here. So we go here, this is the enhanced one. Go here, we reach a crossroads. This side, we will reduce our skill cost. This side, we will increase our MP recovery out of combat. So you can pick whichever you prefer. Let's go this side, for example. So we've added these 3. And if you see over here, MP cost is 29.1. We've reduced that skill cost a little bit here. Then we take this skill power, and then these will give you some range. So range, range, and range. Now, let's check what happens with this. If we remove this, we are at 9.6 meters with just one mod, and then we got some from the quantum domain earlier in the inversion reinforcement, and then we got 3 nodes here on the Arche tuning board. So now if you add the smaller range mod, the amplification control, and we look at our range now, we are at 12 meters without having to waste our skill power modifier and reducing it by 20%. So this is how your build gets adjusted with the new systems. Okay, just a simple example. Okay, next we take this one here, and this is the enhanced skill power, so it gives you a lot of skill power here. We take that. Now this one will cost you 5. The golden ones will cost you 5. Okay, but they give you a lot of things as well. Now we go up here to take the skill. You can take these as well if you want it, depending on how you set up your board. Over here, these 3 will give you additional damage versus Colossus. Now these are multiplicative. Notice the X at the end. Again, I've made a separate video going over this, meaning you need to have some additional attack versus Colossus to take these nodes. So if I take them now, and if you look at this one here, show all stats, we have added 54.2% multiplicative, but it's still 0 because 0 multiplied by this is still going to be 0. So you need to have something somewhere that is giving us some additional damage to Colossus. The best way is basically, the only way I think, is from the reactor. So over here, if you see the option, additional skill attack versus Colossus, 2663.561. So we add this here, and now if we look at this number, it says 4060.951. Remember, this was multiplicative. So we have the 2000 there on the reactor, and then we multiply that by 54.2. So now we are going to do more damage against the Colossus if we take these nodes. But yeah, so that would be only specific for the Colossus. Let's go back to the reactor we were using over here, and now we don't really need this. And so yeah, so we can continue up. We take the MP, so we will increase our MP. Right now we have 294. We add these 4 here, and we are up to 314. Now we reach the cooldown. Okay, so if we look at our cooldown here, we're at 74% cooldown roughly. And if we look here on our skills, it is 2.8 seconds. Okay, so we can add this cooldown for another 5.5%. And now, if you look at our cooldown, it is 2.2. So we saved another 0.6 seconds there. Now, by the way, you can also add cooldown here. So on the reactor. So for example, this reactor has tech power and cooldown. So this will give you 7.4% cooldown. So we've added that. And if you look at this now, we are at 1.4 seconds. So even more cooldown there. Okay, so now we finish out this. We have 9 points remaining. We'll go this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then another 4 remaining. We could take, I don't know, could take some more MP. We could take MP recovery modifier. We could take this again. So yeah, let's just take these 3 again, and we'll take something like this. Another little bit of skill power. And so we have used up all our points. So this is the Arche tuning that was added in season 2, episode 2. After that, they added something called mutant cells. So mutant cells also go into the Arche tuning board. They are these things on the corners of the board. So realistically, you can go for 1, maybe 2 if you sort of don't use these and try to get up to here. You can really get only 2 at a time. You won't be able to get more because we only have 40 points here. So what these do is, once again, they work with your skills and give you some extra benefits. So each of these slots have a socket type, like we do with the module slots. So if you see here, this one has a Xanthic, this one has Malachite, this one has Rutile, and this one has Almandine. Now, once again, you have to first activate this, open this, and you get a couple of materials in the Sigma sector. So what you do is you unlock it first, and then when you click on it, you can use any of these Xanthic mutant cells that you also get from various missions. There are boxes that will drop. So let me just show you. So it will be in here, the consumable boxes. These ones here, these shaped boxes, mutant cell box, mutant cell box, mutant cell box. This is the weapon box, mutant cell, mutant cell. So if you open this one here, and let's say we want toxin chain catalyst, you can see this has the Xanthic toxin chain catalyst, ultimate Xanthic. So you can use this one over there. So each of the descendants will have a different symbol in the corners, and you'll have to build around that based on their element and things like that. So over here, we open this. This one is toxin chain catalyst. What this does is this reduces your enemy's resistance to toxic. So if there's an enemy and you're shooting with your skills, if they are, whatever they are, whatever element they are, it will reduce their resistance to the toxic element. So basically you'll do more damage. Their defenses are reduced a little bit. And the simple formula there is your toxic skill power into 12.5. So basically, this number here, toxic skill power into 12.5, you can reduce this by a maximum of 20%. So you need to have 1.6 on your toxic skill power. That will give you the maximum number. This one here, when you kill enemies, it will actually increase your toxic skill power. So when you kill 3 enemies, you'll get 3 stacks, 6.4 per stack. So you will get more toxic skill power. This one, if an enemy is already affected with toxic, you will get more skill power of 9.5%. And then we have shield values and things like that. So for example, let's go with this one here. We put this here. we equip this, and so when you're running around doing your missions, doing your skills, this will be getting done there. Okay, so now if you want to remove this one and change it with something else, you have to hold Y to extract this, and this is what you need. You need something called Arche genetic scissors, 100 of these, and these drop from the Sigma sector. So you need to have a daily routine of doing certain missions where you get these things. So if we use this, it will extract the mutant cell without, destroying it. So you can put something else in there instead. So if you wanted to put, let's say, shield Arche enhancement or something, you can now put that here. So this is how the mutant cells work. There are various types. They've added more mutant cells. You can see the whole list of mutant cells in the library. So over here, you can see if you go with Xanatic, so these are all the Xanatic ones. These are all the rutile ones and so on. Okay, so that is the mutant cells done. Now, after this, we reach the axial planes in season 3, and we got something called the trigger module. So over here. Now, for this one, you need to meet a few conditions. You basically need 10 crystallization catalysts on your build. So I've already put a bunch of them. And so 10 is not a problem. You also need to have 40 on your Arche tuning board. And yeah, so basically that's how you can get it. And also there's a new item called this thing here, refined axiom crystal. So this one, these 4 items, the research materials, they drop from the axial plane. So when you're doing various missions, these things will drop. The entropium, the keracid, the Celentra, bleachstone shards. And when you have 100 of each of them, you can craft this from a nice in the research lab. And then you need one of these to unlock the trigger module slot. This one here, it's only a one-time thing, so it's not that big a deal. Now, the way this works is these work with your skills. So for example, if you look at the Venom Trauma once again, at the top, over the basic information, you will see something called explosive projectile, ground dot, continuous dot. Okay, so these are the sort of skill types of each of the skills, basically. Group, let's say. And then if you look at this one here, it says explosive projectile, ground dot, continuous damage, slow. Over here on the 4th one, it says explosive weapon, continuous damage. So if you match your skill with one of the trigger modules, you will be able to get this. Now, a lot of the trigger modules tend to drop from axial planes. In the Wall Crasher boss is pretty good for that. So if you click on this here, these are the 4 skills for Freyna. So this first skill, any of these triggers will work. With the second skill, any of these will work. With the third one, any of these will work. And with the 4th one, any of these will work. This is the same one, basically. The infected weapon is a new one. Basically, what it does is when attacking with your continuous damage, with which the 4th one is, you will inflict something called Arche infection, which basically does more damage. And then when you use your 4th weapon, the Freyna's ultimate, it will also do more damage. So let's equip this one here and see what happens. So now, if you see, let's say the 4th one, you see those 2 things, explosive weapon and continuous damage, are highlighted in red. So basically the trigger mod matches that. If you look at this one, the continuous damage part matches that. If you see this one again, continuous damage, and this one again, continuous damage. So each of these 4 skills will get the first half of the description here, the Arche infection, the damage, and then the 4th skill will get the exclusive weapon part as well, and you'll do more damage. So this is how you use the trigger module. So again, very simple. You just try to get the best rolls. You cannot enhance this one, so you have to just play the game and keep getting better and better rolls on this and use that. They've also added the trading system where you can use this as well. And so this is how the trigger modules work. Very simple. And now let's move on to our final piece of the puzzle, which is the latest addition, and that is the Ancestors module. Now, Ancestors modules are very simple on the face of it. Each Descendant has one type of Ancestors module. And for Freyna, it's called the Dominator's Resolution. It basically gives you some of your perks in the Ancestors module. So Freyna can get tech skill power, skill cooldown, max shield. Over here, I have max shield, toxic power, tech power, and then skill critical hit damage. Now, the way they have set this up is you can either get 2 skills in positive, you can get 2 skills in positive, 1 in negative. You can get 3 positive skills, and you'll get 3 positive and 1 negative. So the ranges will change based on how many options you get. So the highest range will be in the 2 positive and 1 negative. So notice here, max shield, in this one, we have 3 positives. The range is 43.5 to 164.6. I have 84.8. So somewhere you could say in the middle, well, kind of. And then with this one, we have 3 positive and 1 negative. Okay, and the max shield has a range of 50.9 to 192.5. So a higher range here, starting higher and also ending higher. So basically, you can re-roll this from the guy in Albion, Cillian, and you need something called superconductive, something, I forgot the name, this thing here, superconductive cooling unit. And the number of rolls will increase how many of these things you need. So ideally, when we get Ancestors module, we roll it 4 or 5 times, and until we get the ideal rolls, we keep doing that. So I'll give you an example of how you use the Ancestors module to adjust your build. So if you see this one here, this one increases our tech skill modifier. You can see the range is 0.167 to 0.633, and I got 0.629, so very close to the max there. Now this will add 62 to our 192.4, if you remember. So this will give you another additional way of adding the modifier. And also this has tech skill power boost ratio, which, as we said earlier, we only really get it from the reactor. So that's another nice way of adding this. So 0.228, we will add that. And then we also reduce the skill cost by about 10%. So this is an ideal one. So you have to replace one of your modules and adjust that there. So you can maybe drop the HP if you feel comfortable. And you can also drop the decimator. So let's actually drop the decimator. So you do that and you've made your character a bit stronger. Now, before I forget, there's one other thing regarding the external components. By the time you get to Sigma sector, when we got the mutant cells and stuff, they added something called the cores on your external components. So if you see the 2 options, the orange and the blue, you can add more HP and shield via something called the external component cores. These cores will drop in Sigma sector and a few other missions as well. So if you see the cores here, these ones here, these shaped. So the blue ones will go in the blue one, and they will give you either defense or some element resistances. And then you have these ones here. The normal orange ones will give you HP related things. So HP, max HP will increase, HP recovery will increase, and this one will give you shield related things. And also when you get to Sigma sector, they added another external component for Freyna and the toxic descendants called the plague set. This one here, the plague set, it gives you more tech power. Remember, Freyna uses tech, and singular is used by the Keelan. So this is basically for the tech descendants, the toxic descendants. And then if the 4 sets, you have more toxic skill power. So I already have the set here, so I'll go and equip that. And as you can see with this one, I also have the cores filled out. So you can see I have max HP and defense. And once again, you can re-roll and add the different cores from workbenches in the Albion. So by the time you're done with Sigma sector and you reach the action place, this core option will be unlocked. So you can add these to increase your HP again. So you can see here we have 19,000 HP thanks to all these extra HP and defenses, which means this Ancestors module, we can actually put it instead of the HP because we have so much HP there now. So if we look now, we still have 10,000, and so we can take advantage of the Ancestors module and then put something else here. So we can put our decimator back if we wanted over here. Now with these modules, you can make a lot of adjustments. So for example, if you remember what I said earlier about having 3 different skill powers. So we have base skill power, we have toxic power, we have singular power. Ideally, you want all 3, sorry, not singular, the tech power is for Freyna. So ideally, you want to increase all 3 of these as much as possible. This one is a kind of low. So what we can do here is if you can reduce your cooldown by Ancestors modules or something else, you could take advantage of that and add some more power. So what we can do is, for example, this one here, I have a lot of cooldown, we have a lot of tech power. So we'll replace it with this one. This will reduce our cooldown drastically to 90%, which is the maximum cooldown you can get. And as a result, instead of focus on toxic, I can go with power increase. The power increase will give you the base skill power of 65%. It will reduce our toxic skill power, but we already had a lot of toxic power. We are at 2 times 2 point something. So we'll balance our skills a little bit and add more skill power here. Now notice this is a battle type, so we'll have to replace this one. And now what we have, because we had so much cooldown, we still have the maximum cooldown, but our skills are balanced a bit more. So now we have 0.835 here and 1.286 over here and 596 here. So we are balancing the 3 main skill powers nicely over here, and we got a lot of modifier as well from the 2 mods. We are not getting anything from the Ancestors module, but at least we are balancing these things nicely here. So anyway, this video has gone on for a very long time. I'm going to go and edit this and make it as reasonable as possible, but this is basically your full guide on how to build a Descendant. Okay, any questions, let me know. I tried to cover as much as possible, but we have to keep in mind the time. I cannot make a 3-hour video. So I did not go into too many numbers because I've made separate videos for that. Thank you for watching. If you did, see you next time.